good evening. This is Jayanto Roy Chaudhary, and you are watching the budget special from the Secretariat. With me is Mr. Ashok Dhingra, formerly of KPMG, now a partner with Ashok Dhingra Associates. He's a specialist on taxation laws and a number of other revenue-related issues. I have Rupa Datta on my right. She was from the Indian Economic Service and was the principal economic advisor to the Ministries of Industry and Commerce. And on my left, I have Rahul Ahluwalia, head of the Foundation for Economic Development, a think tank specializing in deciding policies or in helping create policies for the Government of India. First of all, I'll go to you, Mr. Dhingra, because it's all about taxes. Yes. This is one budget which is designed to please the middle class, and I think there are a lot of smiles, which I can see.
Of course.
So how do you look at it, and how much of a help will it be in terms of taxes?
At the outset, I would like to say that this is one budget which has ticked all the boxes. It has pleased the masses, it has pleased the industry, it has pleased all the stakeholders, and people are quite happy. Probably it is beyond their expectation. I'll start with direct taxes. On direct taxes side, particularly in personal taxation, middle class was expecting that the exemption limit may go up to 10 lakhs from 7 lakhs. And beyond their expectation has gone to 12 lakhs. So if you are in new regime of taxation under personal taxation, then you don't have to pay tax. Anything up to 12 lakhs is the normal limit, and 75,000 is the exemption. So no tax is payable with people having a gross income of 12 lakhs 75,000. I think nobody expected this. And all other changes brought in the Income Tax Act, and with the proposed new bill for income tax coming in place, I think are the welcome measures on direct taxes side.
Mr. Dhingra, just as a kind of aside, what is the percentage of taxpayers covered by this, this benefit that is being given?
I think large volume of people are there which are going to get the benefit. I don't have the exact data with me because I'm not a hardcore income tax guy.
Yeah.
So we are more of an indirect tax guy. And customs guys, but yes.
It's about 3 crores.
It's about 3 crores. That's quite a large number. I mean, it's welfareism to an extent, and of course, it's a consumer boost. So, Rahul, how do you look at it as a consumer boost?
Consumer boost, like we discussed, so the reason it's 3 crores is there are 8 crores income tax filers, and 5 crores out of them don't pay tax anyway. So, it's all the rest who have now gotten this boost on their numbers. And the number she mentioned is 1 lakh crore. In terms of revenue foregone, so that's the number that is extra in consumer pockets. I think one number that I look at is Ajay Shah and Vijay Kelkar, who are some of India's best economists, have this very rule of thumb number that government effectiveness of spending is 1/3 of private effectiveness of spending, right? So there's a plus tax. So you could look at it as a multiplier of 3 lakh crores that is now going to get spent better by Indian consumers.
That's what has really happened.
So that money comes in the economy, it's going to be a big boost. And people will be able to buy goods, and it will give an impetus to the entire growth. Of course, Rupa is the right person for that. So how the economy works.
Yeah, Rupa, how does it really work? I mean, if you release this 1 lakh crore into the consumption patterns, does it help people buy more cars? There are lots of unsold cars. Does it help them buy more FMCG? What is it going to be really spent on?
No, that would be a tough question to answer but I would say besides consumption, probably there should be, our savings rate, I think, are stagnating about 28% of GDP. So there should be more savings, more investment. Maybe there was a lot of talk of PPP and private sector and government coming together for capex expenditure and so many other ventures. So and a lot of new financial instruments coming over. So let this money, this extra money which is coming into the economy, be used for not only FMCG and consumer durables, cars, houses, etc., but also for promoting, from purely, and I would speak from the commerce and industry viewpoint, for more of industries, for more of, startups, more focus, more boost to the MSMEs. Let's look at more of manufacturing, more of exports. So this money with the right kind of financial instruments and with the right kind of incentives should help in giving a big boost to the economy, Why only 6.7% rate of growth? We have estimated, the survey was saying that we should have 8% rate of growth for next 25 years, around 25, if we have to reach the Vikasit Bharat goal of 2047, where we are looking at $32 trillion as GDP. So let this be part of the whole growth momentum. We are looking at a $5 trillion economy by 30. So all these inputs have to work out towards the overall output. I mean, obviously, I will speak like a bureaucrat. So, how to boost the economy?
That's good. That's good. I'm going to go into another area where you will have a lot to say. But first, I will start with Rahul, and of course with Dhingra Saab. Rahul, is there a Trump effect on this entire budget? Do you see that in the way customs duties have been rejigged?
Not directly, right? Because they haven't done anything very drastic on the duty side. They have rationalized duties, which is definitely a positive move, and I think Dhingra sir will have much more to say. Rationalization is helpful because any importers can avoid sort of disputes on the custom side. You know, there's not going to be this, okay, does my product get classified in this slab versus that slab? All of these kinds of fights go away. So that's definitely good. But there hasn't been some kind of drastic lowering of duties across the board or anything which would have been a more obvious.
Some small or tweaks, should I say?
I think directionally, at least we have not heard of any duties going up, which had been the unfortunate trend in the 17 to 19 sort of period.
Yeah.
A reversal of the
everybody was building
yes,
tariff walls.
yes.
That's
So,
true.
so that's not happened, and I think that's actually the absence of an increase is evidence of a positive.
Mr. Dhingra, will you speak about the way can these steps really help exporters and exports coming into India? And then I'll come to you because we really need to understand what's going to happen. Most of our markets are stagnating. Markets abroad, that is. Yes, Mr. Dhingra, on the customs front.
Janta, before I respond to your question, I would like to add what Rahul has said. That as far as Mr. Trump is concerned, it's 10 days he's in office. He is already a geopolitical disruptor and he is a nationalist. There's no doubt about it. He loves his country. He's trying to do what he thinks is best for the country. His means or methods, we may have a quarrel with that. But his objectives, I don't think we can question that, or we have a right to question that. Yes, it has impacted a lot of policy changes and brought in policy changes. I will not say that Indian government has brought in those changes, but yes, there are a lot of things which are weighing on the minds of the finance minister, which is showing. I give you a couple of examples in customs side that people pay custom duty when they import certain things and they file a bill of entry. Now, once a bill of entry is filed and all the taxes are frozen, and then subsequently any change happens in the rate of tax or in the value of the goods, or any negotiation happen with the supplier and higher money is paid or some money refunded by the overseas supplier, then those amendments under Section 149 of the Customs Act are generally rejected by the authorities, in spite of there being a humongous volume of the judgments of the high court tribunals in favor of such amendments. What government has done, they are going to introduce a provision that people can do the self-assessment or amendment up to 1 year. So it's a welcome change. Yes, I would like to add at the same note that while the change is there, but it is half-hearted. At least the FM should have given the 3 years window for people to do it, because by the time you realize that you made a mistake, paid higher tax or lower tax, the already 1 year window is over. So if there is a 3 year window is done, then it will reduce not only taxes, it will bring in certainty as well to the issues. And also the lot of litigation will come down in that. And other changes in the customs are really industry friendly, where the government has brought in changes in line with and they have picked up probably a cue from Mr. Trump that lot of protectionist measures have been added, but at the same time they are good for our domestic industry. So I will say on this side that government has gone for the industry, MSME sector, and particularly encouraging the domestic industry in producing more. So Make in India, ease of doing business are already there for ages, which are giving some results. But probably with these kind of impetus, the results would turn out to be better and faster.
Yeah, Rupa, your favorite hobby horse has been that we aren't really going into new markets and the old markets are stagnating.
No, before I come to that, I would like to say that there used to be a lot of interactions, obviously, with Ministry of Finance. The basic issue here was that our finished products were coming in much cheaper in terms of duties as compared to the intermediates. So these were flooding our markets, and our manufacturing kind of stagnated at 16 to 17%. So this was specifically mentioned in a budget, and a lot of efforts have been made to tweak the duty rates so that the intermediates become less expensive, and as everybody has said, that the domestic manufacturing can improve. And there was a lot of specific items mentioned. I would definitely like to, because these are areas we used to discuss a lot with the finance ministry. But of course, the overall decision has to be taken in terms of upstream and downstream. It cannot be single strand. So leather, footwear, toys, gems and jewelry was not mentioned, but all these leather. I mean, there have been duty changes. Gems and jewelry, no increase in gold duty, which a lot of people. Actually, I used to look after those exports. I will always mention that's my favorite area. So a lot of focus on labor-intensive areas, and a lot of focus on trying to, as Sir said, trying to improve Make in India, focus on domestic manufacturing, and work the duty structure in a way so that the finished products are priced more highly as compared to intermediate, so that our domestic manufacturing improves. Now coming to the second thing, as you said, my favorite hobby horse, in terms of export promotion mission. I mean, of course, the contours need to be worked out. We'll have to look into it. What are the issues? But there have been a lot of export strategies in place. A lot of planning has been done. And of course, some of them have been showing results in terms of electronics and now semiconductor and all. But I would like to mention, before we go to markets, let's look at the products. We need to move up the value chain. Supply chain is different. We are talking about value chain, like I was saying. In iron and steel, chapter 72, 73, we need to look at more of iron and steel products instead of exporting basic iron and steel. Same is true for gems and jewelry. Cut and polished is about 70% of our exports, $24 billion out of a average exports of $36 to $38 billion. We are already cutting and polishing 94% of world's diamonds. So we have to look at which we are doing, which the industry is doing, but more focus, silver jewelry, imitation, studded jewelry, lab-grown diamonds. Similarly, for processed marine products, today a lot of focus on today's budget, how to have more of processed food products. For leather as well as non-leather products. And these are not only improving exports, going into newer markets as compared to US, UK, our topmost trading partners, and UAE. There has been a lot of focus on other areas, other newer markets, and some of these FTAs have definitely helped and to explore newer markets. And there's a lot of discussion going on with so many other FTAs, including maybe some limited trade agreements with other countries. If you read newspapers, perhaps US and so many other countries. So move up the value chain in terms of engineering products, in terms of textiles, again boost given to technical textiles, which is the sunrise area. So besides ready-made and apparels, so agricultural products, engineering products, gems and jewelry, leather, toys. Lot of work had been done in all these ministries India was a huge importer of toys. I don't have the figures right now, but now it exports toys, and we are looking at having made in India toys across the world. So besides move up the value chain, look at higher end products, look at newer markets, and also help in generating employment, which is a need of the hour. So thankfully, and also of course, a lot of MSMEs are part of this, so help them to move up, help them to be part of Industry 4.0. A lot of focus given to credit.
Absolutely.
That is we have done a lot of studies where credit is one of the main reasons. So work this together, but definitely move into different higher value end products. Definitely, this has to be the key.
Right, as Dr. Datta said, that much of these measures are actually meant for the MSMEs. So there is an MSME thrust. Do you think there is enough, and do you think we need to do more, because the number of youth unemployed are of course huge, and the only place where you can take youth out of agriculture and into industry is really in the MSME sector as a whole.
So, a couple of different points here, right? I think just to quickly comment on something that you mentioned earlier, which is that global markets are stagnating. I think we should not be thinking about it in terms of are the global markets growing or not. We have to think in terms of can we grow our share? Because our share is actually extremely poor. We have 1.7%. We have
The merchandise
we have
export.
24% of the world's working age population.
Yeah.
We have, and 1.8. So our market share we have to expand. We have to become more competitive. Their markets are huge, right? The global developed country economies put together are $65 trillion, right? And so we have to expand our share. We have to expand our share. We don't have to think about are they growing or not. So I think that's one. The second question, sort of what you're saying, and partly to what Rupa ma'am said, is how do we expand that share? And I think I'll add some nuance to what she was saying, right? How do you go up the value chain? It's first you have to expand in terms of scale where you are in the value chain, right? So India actually has this very funny thing of we have comparative advantage, revealed comparative advantage in the sense कि हम almost हर छोटे छोटे sector में we are export competitive, right? Almost every product at every end of the value chain, some firm or the other is exporting. We just don't do it at scale, right? So first we have to grow horizontally at scale. We have to be 40-50% of the world export market. Then you go up the value chain. I'll give you very concrete examples where it makes more sense, right? Electronics assembly. We have had these green shoots starting, right? Last 3-4 years, $20 billion we've reached. And people are saying, like Raghuram Rajan has famously said, that we should go up the value chain. But how do we go up the value chain? We are nothing. We don't have a component manufacturing, nothing. But if we get to $300 billion of electronics assembly happening in India, then on that base, people can say, now I can make components. Because one component factory will produce $30 billion and those components will go into the $300 billion that you're making. So first you have to grow horizontal, then you can go up. Bilkul, exactly. So scale horizontally, then climb up. So she is right. I'm just adding a little bit of nuance. And interestingly, I think in this budget, there were some indications that they are understanding that. There was one
MSME.
Yeah, MSME. There was one very interesting, and this is the part about MSMEs you were saying. MSMEs are important. E-commerce especially helps MSMEs connect to world markets already. So uske liye thoda aasan, they have to make it. And they've started doing some of the export mission, Bharat Trade Network they announced.
And that India Post Network, those post offices will also play a big role in e-commerce.
In logistics.
And these are huge just for MSMEs, but we also have to understand we have to invite global giants, right? The Walmarts, the Ikeas, the Apples, the Samsungs, they'll come, they'll set up at scale, and then they have an MSME ecosystem around them. Like, just to give you an example, in China, Apple's own employees are only 3 to 4 lakhs Foxconn, it's not Apple employees, but Foxconn. But their MSME ecosystem employs 50 lakh people.
Yes.
So it's a very large ecosystem. So we must boost big firms to boost MSMEs, alongside, of course, just focusing on what do the MSMEs
What the
do.
MSMEs are doing by themselves.
Rahul, if you allow me, I like to add.
Please.
You heard this term, yesterday, get out of the way.
Ji.
This is one of the biggest challenges in our country, and we work at the ground level, and that is where we feel the challenges are there. If the infrastructure and the support from the bureaucracy is there, then they should be encouraging the industry and not creating impediments in the hands of the industry. They are just putting fetters there and not creating an environment. Whatever government does, the implementation is not that great. If the implementation improves by 10%, I think we in no time we will be one of the largest exporter of all these products Rupa has said, because already non-tariff barriers have been put in place. So import of those products doesn't happen in India. And if Indian industry is little competitive, little nimble-footed, then probably they can beat any market that way.
So Jyota, I think he's put his finger on it. My sense for this budget was the messaging is great. It's all on point. The details that we know are great. They are all on point. But implementation is key.
Will it be implemented?
Implementation is key. If they implement the stuff that they are saying, it's fantastic.
Like the critical minerals mission, it was announced in the last budget, and day before the budget, a couple of days before the budget, the cabinet passed it. So there are these huge time lags. How do we cut it out? You have been working on it with Niti Aayog. What is the thinking in it?
I think it's a question of being able to get them to focus, right? Like I think there are many people in the government with sort of the right intentions and the right desires, but there are fires all the time, right? So I think for us as citizens, it's important to be able to encourage focus on the right things, right? Instead of focusing on any kind of newsworthy event that keeps popping up, right? So how do we keep the focus on the important thing that matters? How do we keep reinforcing? I spoke recently to a former PMO. It's actually it's on our sort of YouTube channel, and he said, when we do the right things, then also you have to come out in support of us. It's not only
Absolutely, that is the thing. I heard it many times earlier. That when the officers do the right thing, nobody supports them. The moment first mistake is there, government is going to hang them.
Exactly.
So their own bureaucracy is going to hang them. So where is the support level they have got? It's the fear psychosis which is working them and weighing down the bureaucracy.
I'll go into one more area which is very critical.
Jayanto, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
we want
I just want to add two little
Yeah,
points
sure.
to what
Rahul said.
Rahul said.
Ashok ji also.
That increase in scale, we have this very large tail and a small head and a small middle. So the middle-sized firms really have to increase. MSME is important, and there are a lot of talks about how average firms, even frankly in Bangladesh, textile firms, average size is maybe 10,000 people here. Average we get is 1,000 people. I didn't want to give a name, but it is a commonly given example. So we need to increase the medium-sized firms. More MSMEs focus, but they also transit to medium-sized enterprises.
You want them to grow up. That's it.
Yeah. Secondly, I have one area which was not specifically mentioned, but is very critical, is the services area. There, I think we used to have 3.2, maybe it's now 3.5% of the world's exports. So services, we have a huge opportunity. Services are growing well. Services, in fact, have a big surplus, which covers for the mercantile trade deficit. So it's not only ITES, but we all know, now it's medical value tourism, travel, even, lawyers, charter accountants, so many other areas.
Knowledge
So that is one area also. There's a focus, but we need to bring it to the next level, and that will help us in our, increasing the share in world market and more exports.
One thing I wanted to talk about is, if you want to make in India, you have to research in India. Now, there has been some green shoots in research which have been shown in the budget. How do you look at it, and what do you think needs more to be done? All three panelists. So first Rahul, and then Rupa, you, and then Mr. Tegra.
I think we have to be careful about research. Let us not research things that are 40 years away. Right? Our research ecosystem has to be industry focused and industry led, so that there is some real impact. Right? Like let's leave. I know people don't like to hear this, but let's leave the long-term cutting-edge research to people who can afford it, right? Let us think that our cutting edge is where our industry needs it, where it can have impact on jobs, where it can have impact on India, where it can have impact on Indian products. Let us not, I think of fusion power, we will do small modular nuclear reactors, we will do. No, let America do it. We can just use the designs and build them. So that is my perspective on research. Research is very important, but research has different ways you can point it in. True. We think it's very nice sounding to do sort of, these sci-fi style research. Let's not do sci-fi, let's do real India, real products, real industry research.
So he's saying not so many deep fakes, but make the basics. I mean, I agree. In the ordnance factories, we are making battle tanks, we are making Prithvi missiles. But what happens to the basic rifle? We are still stuck with very old-fashioned rifles. We aren't making the one INSAS rifle that we developed wasn't much of a much to talk about home. I'm not talking about defense, but where do you see our R&D efforts heading, and do you think we need to do much more there?
Yeah, I think maybe I don't know whether we should mention this point. Last budget had talk about a fund of, I'm forgetting the amount in the previous budget, which No, not
Fund of
no.
funds, yes,
Fund
you
of
said.
funds for startups and all is different. This was a talk for R&D. This was in the last budget, so we can check it.
National research.
National
Yeah,
research, yes.
so maybe those kind of funds where you have more. I would not know much of details of this, but I can say that where you have more of academia and and the industry collaboration. Maybe a few IITs are doing it, maybe a few management institutes are doing it. But if probably again this was discussed. If we do some kind of hub and spoke model and we create some nodal points and then the spokes would be the interactions, and as I write, yes, I also feel by going for very high tech, which while we may have the intelligence, but do we have the means? So let us look at what improves the lives of day-to-day lives of people. How does R&D and industry, academia come together to promote better quality products, move up the value chain, look at how to promote manufacturing, industrialization, and exports.
True. Mr. Dhingra, any last thoughts and then
Yes, I would like to. First, I'll largely agree with Rahul because what we need today and tomorrow, we should do that research and not what we'll do after 20 years or 40 years. Because the industry needs today that something tangible should come in and will become a developed economy by 2047. That is the immediate goal should be there. At the same time, a small group of researchers or the funds can be allocated for long-term research having a global implications, and the science kind of research should be there. And that is where Rupa has said that we have our institutes, IITs, they are the best in the world. Why not we create them as innovation hubs, like the way the MIT and other institutes are there. So we should develop these, create funds for that, and particularly we should encourage PPP model there, where the industry should come in, sponsor certain projects, and which they should be able to commercialize them. That model, I think, will work better for us, and that is where R&D sector, we are already there, we have the best brains, we have the means and the abilities. We just need the infrastructure and the ability to bring everybody together. That is what we need at this moment.
last thoughts, your concluding thoughts on what the budget actually means, and on the expenditure front too. What do you think? Was it the right mix, or do you think it should have been changed? Quick answers, please.
Quickly, I think the budget sounds are right. I just want to reinforce what Mr. Dhingra said earlier. I think implementation is going to be the ultimate key, and getting out of the way is the most important thing that government can do. We have to get out of the way of businesses. We have to let private investment and exports explode in this country if you want to do well. I'll just stop there.
And take an example of, say, the startup movement. Today, 130,000 startups, okay? Who even 5-6 years back thought that startups would be so. So these are some of the good examples which can be emulated across sectors. And just one last thought, there was a talk about Jan Viswas 2.0. Jan Viswas 1.0 was also spearheaded by DPIT, and to reduce those compliances and remove those laws, it was a huge effort by the whole team, and our ministry, all across ministries. So we are looking at Jan Viswas 2.0 and more such measures as you said, sir. Get out of the way, reduce compliances. This was mentioned today. Reduce the inspection route and make things as much online, accountable, upfront and positive as possible. This Vadse Vishwas scheme is one of your key issues in this, where you are trying to resolve those old tax disputes. So a lot of measures mentioned today. Implementation with the right kind of spirit and approach, I'm sure we are going to do well in terms of a Vikasit Bharat.
Last words.
I think this is one of the best projects where a lot of policy changes are being brought in. The only challenge, as we all agree, that is going to the implementation. Secondly, coming from our experience of dealing at the ground level, if the officers are not trained and they are not told that they have to follow these rules, what the government is bringing, there is no meaning in bringing these rules and changes. So this is where the challenge is coming, that the people are not implementing, they interpret in their own way, and they know that if they confirm any tax demand, nobody is going to question them. They can be questioned only if they drop it. That mindset has to change.
Yeah.
If this change is brought, I think that one of the best things that can be taken away from this budget, and that is where we request the Honorable Finance Minister that they should bring in some accountability for the wrong actions of the authorities if they do not follow the law.
It's a culture and mindset issue.
cultural
Yes,
mindset,
absolutely. Colonial mindset, I will say this.
To sum it up, it's a good budget on the overall. Given the circumstances, global headwinds are there, inflation has been raging, and consumer demand has been falling in that. Under those circumstances, Nirmala Sitharaman has come out with a reasonably good budget. Yes, we have to watch out for the implementation, and yes, we have to watch out that the license permit Raj does not reinforce itself. We are still way down in the ease of doing business is index, and we need to come up. Unless we come up, we cannot attract either foreign direct investment or our own industrialists invest more in India. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is all from Secretariat today.